Thanks for joining the Let's Talk Luxury call. We meet every first Wednesday, so our next call is October 4th. Our objective with our calls is to connect luxury-focused agents with luxury industry leaders. Certainly, if you have any recommendations for great content speakers to join us, let us know. There's 3 hosts on this call. I'm Jennifer Scales. I'm in Tampa with Anjali Gill. She's down here in Tampa as well. And Jason Smith is covering South Florida for us down in South Florida, Miami. So I'm going to drop some notes in the chat. I'm going to try to manage the chat too. But there are 3 ways to keep in touch with us. One is a Facebook group. The other is an email list where we will email you invitations. And then finally, we have a YouTube channel where we post our recordings after the call. So I will put all of that information in the chat. And I think that's it for housekeeping. Anjali, the mic is yours.
Alrighty, wonderful. Thank you, Jen. I am so glad to see all of you here. Thank you for joining us. And I would love it if all of you would come to camera because, you know, it's so much nicer to talk to your beautiful faces than those empty boxes. So just come on over. No one cares about makeup, hair, whatever. No judgment zone. So today we have with us, oh my gosh, a rock star. We've got Andrew Bloom with us. Andrew has just this. I could take the whole call up if I decided to tell you all of his achievements, but what blows my mind is how do you go from being homeless, abused, and still with parents that loved you despite their mental illness, depression, and poverty, go through foster care, 7 high schools, go through all that adversity, beat it with the mindset of a champion, obviously, because currently he's in Gary's Top 100 club. He is a clubhouse moderator. He is the OP of the BVO Luxury Group at Keller Williams, Arizona. Over $1 billion in sales in 2020, and it's all just going up, up, up from there. Andrew, there is so much I can tell people about you besides, let me not forget, he is a loving father to 4 kids.
4 kids.
And he has time for a real estate career as well. I don't know how he does it. Let's have him tell us and find out all the secrets to what kind of a mindset you need to go from there to where he is today, to this millionaire mindset, because this call is all about teaching us how to think luxury, how to live luxury, how to aim for being that luxury agent. So without further ado, Andrew, tell us more of your secrets.
All right. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I tell you, Jason and Anjali and everybody, just really, Jen, thank you so much. My name is Andrew Bloom. I'm a source of light, love, and energy. I'm a loving dad. I'm a successful real estate professional. I am energetic, honest, and disciplined. I treat people with respect and compassion. I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I am generous. I commit each day to doing my personal best and to bring passion and integrity to each of my relationships. I have gratitude for all people and things around me. I am the best at what I do, and each day I look for ways to improve who I am so I can benefit others. My success is not an accident. My actions are intentional, and my relationships are real. I'm Andrew Bloom, and I am number 1. Yes. Anyway, just a little affirmation introduction.
Mindset. And, it's all about mindset. Thank you.
It's all about mindset. And so, you know, I'm so thrilled to be here today. We're going to talk about luxury. We're going to talk about branding. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about mindset, and we're going to do it as quickly and efficiently as we can. And, let's start with mindset. Like, how do you get past all of the limiting beliefs? How do you get past all of the stress and, nuances of life, things that are happening around you, things that are going on in your life? How do you deal with that? That's like number 1. How do we deal with our mindset? And I've gotten very into mastering what's called the polyvagal theory. The polyvagal theory is the study and practice of our parasympathetic nervous system. Our parasympathetic nervous system is really what drives us, human behavior, human emotions, everything that we do as human beings is really credited to the function of our vagus nerve. Our vagus nerve comes from our prefrontal cortex and comes all the way down our spinal cord into our pelvic floor. And in that vagus nerve is trauma. And the vagus nerve gets trapped and stuck with plaque and tartar, trauma, small t trauma, big T trauma, all these experiences that we've had in our life get stuck and trapped inside of our body. And we don't know how to relieve it, right? Some people, are avid exercisers, runners, and that loosens them up. It creates neuroplasticity and flexibility in the nervous system. And it releases dopamine and it gets them moving up the ladder, moving up the chain, moving up the ladder of the parasympathetic nervous system into a space called ventral, which is pure joy and happiness. And, some people fall into depression and stress and anxiety, and they just don't know how to relieve it. And so the way that I like to describe it, because I'm going to give you guys some tools. I don't want to just have this conversation around mindset and limiting beliefs and branding or marketing or luxury without you guys leaving here with actually something that you can apply to change the way that you live your life and the results that you desire to have. So we get into this neuroscience. And this idea that, human beings, we have more cells in our body than you could even, there's 750 trillion volts of electricity in your body. And so our cells, which are, consume us in our body, they live off of oxygen and the flow of blood. And when you're stressed or depressed, or when you're stuck in this analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis, and you don't know what to do and you're overwhelmed, and what you're doing is you're shrinking your cells. What you're doing is you're starving your cells, and you're starving yourself of love. Because love is found in the expansion and the space between the cells. So when you learn how to expand the space between your cells, you learn how to allow for love to come in and out. There's a reciprocity with the universe. There's a relationship with the universe. And when you can tap into that energy, then everything else, all possibility opens up. But when you're closed off to these emotions, and you're stuck and you're trapped in your body, then you're limited in your possibilities. You can't even see what the opportunity is. You can't see what the possibilities are. So how do you do it? And what I'm going to tell you guys is it's a daily practice. It's a daily practice. It's a commitment to self-care and self-love. See, we got our real estate license, and the first thing that we learned when we received our real estate license is that we had to be fiduciaries to other people. And we abandoned ourselves. We had to abandon the fiduciary duty that we owed to ourselves so that we can serve others. When we became a parent or a partner, we began abandoning our fiduciary duty to ourselves. And we've heard, I've been in real estate now for 30 years, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Well, what does that mean? How do you do that? Where's the model? Where's the practice? Where's the oxygen mask gonna come from? Because I sat around for years waiting for the oxygen mask to fall out of the sky, and it just never came. And I didn't know where to find it. I didn't understand what that meant. I really didn't. And so my question for you guys is, how many of you, you can raise your hand, how many of you brushed your teeth this morning? Brushed your teeth. If you brushed your teeth, raise your hand. Almost everybody. It's pretty cool. Now, some of you actually used a water pick or some, what do you call it? Floss, thank you. Yep, some of you flossed. Some of you used wet mouthwash. Some of you brushed your teeth. Some of you really went through extra effort for oral hygiene. But what spiritual hygiene practice do you have every day? See, we have this oral hygiene practice to mitigate or get rid of plaque and tartar. But what about the plaque and the tartar that's built up inside your nervous system from years of trauma? Small t trauma, big T trauma. Small t trauma, stress, anxiety, being an entrepreneur, being in real estate, being a parent, being a partner. Big T trauma, divorce, suicides in your family, a family member that's been, there's so many different kinds of big T trauma. And we've all suffered this trauma, little t trauma and big T trauma, and it's stuck and trapped in our bodies. And if we don't have a way to release it, if we can't identify it, and we just think it's all going to be okay, all we do is suppress it. And all we're doing is starving ourselves of oxygen and love. So I'm going to give you guys some practical tips on how to, I can't even say it. I'm not allowed to say this on the call. There's a book out. There's a book called Unfuck Your Nervous System. It's not spelled F-U-C-K. So I didn't say that bad F word, right? So and so I'm going to give you some practical tips on how to deal with these drunk monkeys, on how to deal with the limiting beliefs. And it starts with creating a routine of neuroattunement exercises. It starts each day with creating a routine of neuroattunement exercises. What's neuroattunement? It's putting yourself in a conscious place of love, of moving energy into the right direction, into flow. It's about activating your prefrontal cortex. See, your prefrontal cortex, that's where all your creativity happens. This is the windshield. Your prefrontal cortex is the windshield, and your amygdala is the rear view mirror. Do you want to live life looking through the windshield, or do you want to live life in the rear view mirror? So how do you activate your prefrontal cortex? Well, going on a run, taking a walk in the sun, listening to your favorite song, listening to certain music, art, creativity, dancing, celebrating, prayer, gratitude, blessings, right? Anything associated, anything that makes you feel good, activate your prefrontal cortex. Well, how do you activate your prefrontal cortex when you don't feel good? You force yourself to do something fun. You force yourself to do something that brings you joy. And you get yourself out of that depressing mood. Well, we have to lead generate every single day. Every single day we get to lead generate every day. Well, how can I lead generate at the highest level, in my highest value, where I've activated my prefrontal cortex, where I'm stimulated, inspired, and motivated to have conversations with people that are meaningful? How do I do that consistently every day? Well, it's this daily practice. It's a daily practice that you can either put in a 411, you can have it in your GPS, you have your evening routine, you know exactly, every time you brush your teeth from now on, I want you to think about neuroattunement. I want you to think about what kinds of activities can I do that are going to expand and open me up for love, right? Because the universe operates on the law of reciprocity. And the relationship that we have with the universe is what is the vibration and the message that we send out. We attract. It's the law of attraction. It's the law of attraction. It's no different. Have you ever approached anybody that didn't have terrific smelling breath? And you're like, whoa, wait a second. This person needs to go deal with that. Well, guess what? People pick up on our internal regulation, our internal hygiene. People pick up on the energy that we are transmitting in our body. There's a vibration, there's a vibrational energy, and you can suppress it, you can fake it, you can hide it, but at some point it's going to creep out and it's going to expose itself, kind of like bad breath. Right? You can forget to brush your teeth and you stop at the store and you grab a little mouthwash and right? But an hour later, it's back because you didn't do the job right. You didn't floss, you didn't brush, and you've got this plaque, and you might be able to hide the plaque and hide this oral, I don't know, odor, whatever you want to call it, right? You can hide it for a minute or two, I go to the dentist about every 3 or 4 months for a good cleaning, and it feels really, really, really good. And I'll tell you that, if we just simply understand our bodies, if we understand that oral hygiene is so important for all of us that are on this call, well, what about spiritual hygiene? And is that a daily practice? If your oral hygiene is a daily, and for some of you, it's 2 or 3 times a day. I guarantee you there are people on this call that have a toothbrush in their purse. And after every single meal, no matter where it is or what it is, they're brushing their teeth or they're flossing. Some people are extremes about their oral hygiene, and some people are extreme about their spiritual hygiene. But you have to have a spiritual practice. And that spiritual practice is going to attract abundance to your life, right? Like when you lack a spiritual practice, you're living in lack. When you have an abundant spiritual practice, you're living in abundance. And so this idea that because love is abundant, right? The universe, God is abundant. And so it's when you have a daily practice of what does this look like? And so for me, I get up every single morning, gratitude, blessings. You could call it savers. You could say that, I'm committed to my savers morning routine, the miracle morning by Hal Elrod. If that's what you want to follow, no problem. But there's got to be a spiritual practice. Are you living this life with intention to be the best spiritual human being that you can be? We're in a universe that rewards, that benefits. The universe is rigged in favor of people that move other people up the ladder. The universe is rigged in favor of people that make other people feel good. There's a selfishness beyond any measure of what it's like to help other people feel good, because how it makes you feel is the most rewarding thing in the world. So I get up in the morning and I start with gratitude and prayer and exercise, and I get my blood flowing and I get things moving, and then I get into my morning routine. And Mark and Samira and a few other people on this call join me Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. I would encourage you guys to come. Everybody can come. I'll just put the link in the chat real quick. It's right there. That's it. BBO.
Which time zone?
Pacific time, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. And we go through a spiritual journey every morning, and there's a lot of real estate involved in it. We bring in pivot shift and the MREA and different things, but neuro attunement exercises. What are the things that you do that make you feel really, really good? Is it writing? Is it reading? Is it listening to music? Is it dancing? Is it performing? Is it walking? Is it running? Is it biking? Is it hiking? Is it love making? What is it that moves you up the ladder? What are the activities? Where's your drop-down menu? And then how do you express yourself when you don't feel so good? When the transaction didn't go your way, when the deal fell apart, when the negotiation failed? What do you do when your children are absolutely driving you insane and you can't do the things that you need to do, when you have all these conflicts in your schedule, when you have all this overwhelm, anxiety, and stress? What's your practice? What toothbrush do you grab, or piece of floss do you grab when your nervous system and you're just stressed out and you're overwhelmed? What do? What tools do you have in your toolbox, in your hygiene kit, to move you through that? And I'm asking this question, like, I really want you guys to think about it. What tools do you have in your toolbox to move you up the ladder, to get you unstuck in this place? And so for me, this kind of started off for me. I was a social worker 35 years ago. I worked for Head Start. Head Start is a federally funded low-income preschool program for low-income families. And I was a caseworker. I have a bachelor's degree in social work from ASU, and I was a social worker for the city of Phoenix. And every morning I would go into the Head Start classroom to do a head count. Did all my kids show up to school today? Because if Johnny didn't show up to school today, that's the first home visit I need to make. Is Johnny okay? Is Johnny alive? Is Johnny's mom alive? Did Johnny's dad show up, you know, in the middle of the night? Did what happened, right? So I'd go to these, I'd go to school every single morning and I'd check in on my classrooms. I had 3 classrooms as a social worker with about 25 kids in each classroom. And I'd go through and say, okay, are all my kids here? And the kids that weren't there, those were the first home visits I'd go make. And these kids that did show up, many of them, they all came from impoverished environments. And, you know, poverty, the culture of poverty, there's a lot of other issues that happen around poverty: mental health, homelessness, physical, emotional, spiritual abuse, neglect. And these 4-year-old children would come into school and many of them would have bottle rotted teeth. So if anybody knows what bottle rotted teeth is like, it's like, because they would drink Coca-Cola out of baby bottles and their teeth were rotted. And they would come into school and you're putting them in an environment, in an academic environment. How are you going to get 25 4-year-old kids to sit still that slept in cockroaches and feces the night before? And they come in disheveled and they come in neglected. And they're supposed to be there to move up the ladder and feel good and get an education and learn how to count, and learn how to read and learn how to write. Well, we start off with a neuroattunement exercise. So we'd start off every single morning with some neuroattunement exercise like duck, duck, goose. How many of you have ever played duck, duck, goose? Duck, duck, goose, where you sit in a circle and somebody's the duck. And they run around and they tap all the kids on the head. Duck, 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 goose. And then they run around and they run around, they run around, and then everybody sits still in a circle. And then the teacher's got an hour to teach them because they've regulated they've co-regulated their nervous systems. Everything that's gone on in their life that morning, the night before, they forget all about it. Because they've just experienced joy. They've just experienced love. They've just had this expansion in their cells. Blood is flowing, oxygen is flowing. These little 4-year-old kids are sitting there with these huge smiles on their face, ready to learn, eager and excited. And then an hour goes by, and then the teacher says, okay, it's recess time. Everybody can go out on the playground, run around, have fun, go down the slide. Then line up in a straight line and come back into the classroom. And guess what these kids would do? They'd line up in a straight line and come back in. They'd have order and structure that they were excited and thrilled to be a part of. So different than their home environment that was just chaotic with no order and no structure. They didn't know if they were going to have dinner that night. The only meal they were guaranteed was the lunch we were going to serve them at school. That was it. And that's how I grew up. That's how I was raised, right? If we didn't have free breakfast and lunch at school, I didn't know if I was going to eat. That's how I grew up. And so as adults, we have to treat ourselves as if we're 4 years old or 5 years old. If we can just live life like this free-spirited 4 or 5-year-old with huge imaginations and big dreams, what happened to all that? Where did all that go? So today's Wednesday. It's one of the most meaningful days of the week because it's the midweek protocol. It's the one day where we all get to come in together and say, okay, how am I doing this week? How did I do Monday and Tuesday? And now it's Wednesday, the midweek protocol. Have I made my 60 contacts for the week so far, or 40 contacts, 20 Monday, 20 Tuesday, I'm on Wednesday. You know, how are my transactions going? How are my relationships with my kids and my partners? Am I hitting my goals? Am I getting on the scale? Am I lifting my weights? Am I doing all the right things? It's Wednesday. I'm going to just pause for a few minutes and I'm going to reflect on my 411 and see how I'm doing. So that's Wednesday, and it's the midweek protocol, and it's a blessing. Every day is a blessing, but Wednesday is a special day because we get to pause in the middle of the week and just reflect. Mm-hmm. And If you haven't hit your numbers, if you haven't hit your goals, do you have tools to be able to move you up the ladder? Do you have what's in your toolbox for spiritual cleansing? I use a tool called the 4 permissions. When things, I tend to use the 4 permissions when I'm stressed out or overwhelmed. I don't use it enough when things are going right. I should use it more often. And so let me share the 4 permissions with you guys. First of all, let me open up my photos and see if I can't find it without having to share my screen first. But I want to give you guys this tool, which is one of my favorites. Here it is. Okay. Share my screen and the 4 permissions. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it for a minute, just for a second or two, and then release it. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's safe to feel overwhelmed. I'm allowed to feel overwhelmed. I have permission to feel overwhelmed. And you can substitute overwhelmed with however you're feeling. Anxious, stressed, excited, happy, blissful, joyful, loving. Whatever it is that you're experiencing is all okay. It's all okay. You can validate every feeling that you have, everything that you're going through in life. You can validate it because it all makes sense at this time. It makes perfect sense. Where you're at in your business makes perfect sense at this time. Where you're at in your relationships makes perfect sense at this time. Where's your average sell price? Of course, that's your average sell price because that is what you're gravitating to. How do you want to make more money? You want to increase your average sell price? All you have to do is make a decision. It's pretty simple. It's just a decision. I'm just going to spend 3 days a week going to preview homes that are priced at $5 million or more. And I'm going to talk about them and I'm going to learn about it, or $1 million or more, or $500,000 or more. And I'm going to put a plan together, and I'm going to, for the next 30 days, I'm going to learn everything I can about $1 million houses, about construction, about whatever it is. So giving yourself the 4 permissions is a tool in the toolbox, right? And then we go into this neuroattunement exercise, and I'm going to leave time for questions, but we're going to jump into our Wednesday neuroattunement exercise. So I'm going to play a little song. It's 35 seconds long. If you want to get up and dance around, you can. If you don't, that's perfectly okay. You can just watch me get up and dance around for 35 seconds. But I do this every single day of the week. And so without any further ado, we're going to drop into our Wednesday neuroattunement exercise. Where am I? And why did this show up this way? Let's see.
Dream English Kids.
There we go.
We go.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. I'm so happy it's Wednesday. 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 I'm so happy it's Wednesday. Walk, walk,
Walk really fast. Oh, what happened there? Something happened. Whoa.
really fast. Wednesday. 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 Today is Wednesday.
Okay. So now that I've done my neuroattunement exercise, I can drop in to my breathwork exercise. That's right. Exactly, Karen. Just take a deep breath. On Wednesdays, I do a Wim Hof breathwork exercise. On Wednesdays, Wim Hof Wednesdays. And so I'm going to invite you guys to do this. We only do half of it. We only do 2 rounds of 4 rounds. We only do 6 minutes of 11 minutes. Always start off with 3 deep breaths.
Relax to the deepest. Lie down, sit down, whatever it takes. Relax.
Close your eyes.
Are you ready? Here we go. Round number 1. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Go with the flow of the breath. In, out. In, 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 into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. Ten more. Fully in, letting go. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in and let go. All right. 30 seconds breath hold from now on. Be in this moment. Let the body do what the body is capable of doing. Be aware of your heartbeat. Slow it down and just be in this moment. Okay, recovery breath in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 2.
Last round.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, in, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in, letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. Ten more. Fully in, letting go. Nice, deep, circular breaths. 5 more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in. And on the exhale, stop. 1 minute, breath hold from now on. Feel, become aware of your body. If your hands and feet are tingling, or you feel your body temperature is changing, that's okay. You're doing fantastic. If you need to breathe before I give the cue, that's okay. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. When you're ready, fully in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go.
All right. Now we can focus on domino number 2. We can get into lead generation, and we can make our dials, and we can make our follow-up calls, and we can call our sphere of influence and our database, because we have taken care of ourselves first. We put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. We've got this spiritual hygiene. How many of you experienced some kind of a cooling sensation in your body, or a tingling sensation? And right, anybody experience that? Yeah, exactly, Jason. Right, like this idea of spiritual hygiene, of being able to transform yourself and create and be the love that you seek. Right, when you can learn to be the love that you seek, the vibration, the attraction that you have in your life, your conversion rates will go through the roof. Your conversion rates will go up. When you're coming from a place when you are regulated in your nervous system, and you've got a daily practice, this daily practice of spiritual hygiene, of spiritual cleansing, of moving yourself up the ladder so that you can go serve others at a higher level. Learning to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, a daily practice, a daily spiritual hygiene. So for me, that's step 1 every day, right? Is getting into this sort of this higher power, this vibration of love, the love that I seek and desire, this safety that I seek, right? We all have this desire to be safe and secure. Well, and we seek safety outside of us through validation, outside validation, through other relationships, through the success in our business. But it really begins with us. And when we can feel safe, and we can be that vibration, and we can be that energy, we go out into the world, it's like, wow, all of a sudden we're attracting opportunity. We're not repelling it. Like, people are like sellers are, when we can sit in somebody's living room, calmly regulated from a place of real spiritual integrity and love, and not committed to the outcome. We're not attached to any outcome. We're already completely fulfilled. Before we ever walk into that situation, we've already got all the validation, the love that we need, and now we can just go out and be an attraction to that. And we can sit down in every conversation that we have now is coming from a place where we just are contributing to the energy of the universe. We're in balance with the universe. There's a reciprocity that's we're now a part. We're now really a powerful part of this universal movement of energy and love, and it attracts it. And we're sitting down with sellers and buyers, and we're really able to come from a place of contribution at a much higher level, without suppressing our own challenges. See, we can go out. I did it for years. Cindy Schulte. Cindy, you've known me for 30 years or however long we've known each other. It's very easy to be successful without being whole. Like, we can suppress all of our emotions, all the stress, all the anxiety, all the trauma that we've endured, and we can go out and serve others. But at some point, you're going to need that oxygen mask at some point in your life, at some point in your career. You're going to look down and say, I'm 20 pounds overweight, or I'm in these toxic relationships, or I just don't feel fulfilled. My business isn't fulfilling. I'm successful, yet I don't feel the level of love that I desire, the level of safety that I desire, the level of security in my life. I have all this business and all this love, but I feel empty, or I feel stress and anxiety. What's it all worth, right? What's having $1 million business worth if you're miserable, if you're unhappy, if you're not in authentic relationships? Because if we're out of alignment with our own spirituality, if we've got all of this spiritual hygiene that's full of plaque and tartar and trauma, yeah, sure, we can go out and succeed at a really high level, but are we really succeeding in life? Are we winning in life? Are we fulfilled? Are we the love that we seek? Are we always looking for outside validation? One more transaction, one more closing, one more commission check, one more appointment, one more of this. I need to do this. I need to do that. I've built this huge life. If I don't make 100,000, I mean, you guys, in 2019, I was the number 6 Keller Williams agent in the world. I did 185 million, 5.2 million in GCI, 40% profit. Gary Keller had me on stage at Mega Camp, and I'm looking at it all, and I'm just thinking, it's there. Love is the answer. And when you master the models of the MREA, lead generation is the first model that we all have to master at a really, really, really super extraordinarily high level. Master lead gen, because if you don't ever master lead gen, where it's predictable, where you could pull a lead lever, where you could pull transactions out anytime you want, where you can go from 50 transactions to 200 transactions because you have a path, you have a model, you know exactly what works, where you've mastered lead gen. If you don't master lead gen, there's no point in ever looking at the organizational model, because you can't give what you don't have. So you've got to master lead generation. Now, you can not master lead generation and master the organizational model by being a teacher or coach, or like a productivity coach, or maybe a team leader, but you still have to master lead generation as a team leader, because that's what you're doing, is recruiting. But you've got to master the lead generation model. And for me, I had mastered the lead generation model for 25 years. I mastered it at a really high level when I was at RE/MAX. And the only model that RE/MAX ever really carried, the only model that matters at RE/MAX, the only model is the lead generation model, because it's a rented desk. You're paying a high desk fee. That was the whole notion. Dave Liniger said, I only want the best agents in the business that don't need training. They don't need coaching. They don't need mentoring. Those are the agents I want to hire that can afford to write me a big fat check every month, no split. They get 100% of their commission, and I don't have to train them. They know how to lead generate. And Gary Keller came around and said, listen, if you can master lead generation, then you can fit into this culture of reciprocity, that we know that the success in real estate is really success through others. And there's an abundant mindset, and there's a mindset of productivity, of learning, of collaboration, of academics, of teaching and training and reciprocity. And if you can master lead generation, then you can learn to master the organizational model, and then you can have success through others. And then there's this ladder of opportunity, right? So I guess I'm just going to pause for a few minutes. I bet there's a question or two, or somebody has something that they want to share. I put so much out there so quickly, and I just want to open it up to any shares or ahas or questions.
There is lots of engagement in the chat, lots of participation. I don't have any questions. If anybody has any questions, turn off your mute button and let's hear.
Just an observation. Thank you for sharing and just pouring into us, Andrew. Amazing. 40 minutes of just sharing what, success leaves clues. You were the number 6 agent in Keller Williams, right? We wanted to know a bit more about mindset. Would everybody agree that we got a nice dose of what makes Andrew's mindset allow him to be number 6 in the world? It's not just about the mechanics of selling real estate or the lead generation or the organizational model. Before that, it's your mindset piece and how you approach life. That's my aha. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions or ahas? I see Lito saying 1,000% from the Coral Gables office. Maruja is saying yes. Ariana is saying, where can we find the lead generation model? That's in the MREA book, right? The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, which I believe you teach on a daily basis. Andrew, you have a call about that, correct?
I do. And to dive a little deeper on that for just a moment, right? Mastering lead generation. What does that mean? What mastering lead generation means is that you've identified a way to produce a massive amount of opportunity in business in your marketplace, right? Where you're saturating the marketplace and dominating that space. And so there's a lot of different ways to do it. But when you look at like geographically farming, right? We have geographical farming and we have demographic farming, geographic farming and demographic farming. The idea that you're going to draw a circle or a square or some way of defining geometrically, here's my farm. This is my farm, whether it's the geography or the demography. What I mean by that is pick a zip code, pick a target. You're going to saturate that market. You're going to saturate that market. You're going to learn everything you can about it. You're going to feed it frequently. You're going to be in it. You're going to be involved in it. You're going to everything about it. You're going to know about it, and you're going to tell about it, right? And you've got to go small to go big. You have to master the fundamentals, and you master the fundamentals on a small scale, right? It's kind of like anything that we've learned to do in life. We learned to do small before we went big. We learned to crawl before we walked, before we ran. We learned to hit the ball off the tee before we learned to hit it from the coach, before we learned to hit it from somebody our own age throwing the ball to us, right? Like this idea of go small to go big, master the fundamentals. And so, this idea that, from a farming perspective, geography, this is the beautiful thing about real estate. Master something that's really super easy, where you fit in really, really well, right? It's like you can farm the neighborhood where you live really easily because you're a part of that community. You shop at the same places, you walk the same streets, you talk the same talk, you look at the same environment. Essentially, that's kind of the world that you live in. It's the world that they live in, and you master that. And you come from contribution, and you hit it consistently all the time. But you want to level up. You want to increase your average sell price. You want to increase your farm, your geographical farm. You want to increase the number of doors you have. Well, that's all wonderful. But you start small, and you start by creating habits and consistency and learning the talk tracks and the process of mastering the domination of a couple hundred doors, 200 doors, maybe 500 at the most. If you've not farmed before, you certainly don't want more than 500. You want to start with 200 doors. Why 200 doors? Because that's EDDM. That's the only reason. But otherwise, 200 doors, then go to 500 doors, then go to 1,000 doors or 5,000 doors. And, anyway, and if you need to learn how to, I can't in 9 minutes teach everybody here exactly how to dominate their farm, but that's where you start. And then it's like, well, but I have this vision, I have this dream of selling $1 million houses or moving into this other neighborhood or being, okay, great. So simultaneously to mastering and dominating my 200 doors, I'm going to spend part of my time learning and previewing and shadowing in a higher price point. How do I dominate my database? how do I dominate my database, right? There's just a lot of tools and resources out there on how to dominate your database. All these playbooks within Keller Williams exist, and you've got to find what works for you. You've got to find your tribe. Like, you know, that's super important. And like, it's 20 contacts a day. It's 20 contacts a day. There's a, you know, and it's win the day by noon. When you can get into this practice, this daily routine, this practice, you win the day by 12 o'clock. By noon, you're done. You've done your lead gen. You've done all of this, you know, mental and emotional preparedness, the spiritual hygiene that we talk about, connecting with the universe, self-love, self-care, go out and be a leader, right? Like, lead yourself, be a leader. And when you can lead yourself and be that leader, you're going to attract all kinds of opportunities. And so it's, you know, there's just so many places, like when you talk about where do you get the lead generation model? Yes, it's in the MREA. Yes, you can learn about geographically farming. Yes, you can learn about, you know, Command now has a whole new level of Facebook ads that you can run. And if that's your thing, if that's what you're into, then be into it. You know, and you know, in terms of luxury, I mean, it's really, you know, luxury is really being in love with yourself. When you love yourself and there's self-love and self-care, then you can go out and create and manifest anything that you want in life, any price point, any relationship, any conversation, you know. And it's like, because the limiting beliefs are gone, right? And I don't want to say they're gone, because they're never gone. You learn to dance with your dark passenger. You learn to embrace those shadows, because the limiting beliefs are there for a reason, and they were designed to protect you, and they most likely are deep rooted in trauma. And so it's not that they ever go away. It's that you learn to love those parts of you. When you learn to love all parts of you, and you learn to love those shadows and give those shadows a way to express themselves, then you could, I mean, literally, you just become unstoppable. You become unstoppable, and that's really the recipe to it, you know. And it's a daily practice, and it's several times a day. I'll give you guys a couple hacks. We got a few more minutes. Number one, your schedule is everything. Your calendar is everything. Your relationship with your calendar, the intimacy that you have with your calendar, is so important. And I'd recommend that you put these practices in your calendar. I would put it in your calendar what time you wake up in the morning with an emoji of some kind of reminder. It could be prayer or blessings. It could be exercise or fitness. I can share, if I shared my calendar with you guys right now, what you would see is exactly what I'm talking about. Get to my calendar.
Thank you, Andrew.
Let's
Also,
see.
Mark Benson from Naples has a question: when you have a chance.
Yeah. So if you look at my calendar, I've got these emojis throughout my calendar that remind me that it's wake up time, it's morning time. And then if you look at like 11 o'clock, take 5 minutes. And if I open that up, take 5 minutes just to breathe wherever you are at from 11 a.m. to 11:05 a.m. And it's in my calendar, right? And so it's like this idea of mastering your morning routine, this spiritual hygiene. And if you, a couple times a day, if you put it in your schedule and you take 5 minutes just to breathe, these reminders, right? That self-love and self-care, it's so important. And then everything that you do goes into your schedule. How do you differentiate yourself when and I use this example. If you're going on a listing appointment, is it in your schedule? Is it on your calendar? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It depends. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is, and it's true for all of us. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, but it needs to be on your calendar. And not only does it need to be on your calendar, but it needs to be on your seller's calendar. So what I do when I book listing appointments is I put it immediately on my calendar, which also sends an alert to my admin team to generate listing docs, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I put it on my calendar and I add the seller to the calendar invite. Now I go on a lot of listing appointments with sellers that I don't know. And as soon as I book that listing appointment from my lead generation, as soon as I book the listing appointment, the question that I ask them is, I'll say, hey, Marty Johnson, what's the best email address for you so I can calendar our appointment? Okay, great. Marty Johnson at gmail.com. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and send you a calendar invite. I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to add Marty to the calendar invite. And when Marty sees that calendar invite, she's going to feel seen, heard, understood, validated, safe, and trusted. The respect that I get and gain from honoring her nervous system. See, because Marty is not in ventral. When you start to understand the parasympathetic nervous system, Marty's anxious. She's stressed out. She's going through a divorce. She needs to sell her house. Her husband's abusive and she's got to sell it, and she's stressed, and meeting with 5 real estate agents isn't her top priority. And she's just a mess. But I've just made her feel safe because I've calendared it. Or maybe Marty's just downsizing. Her kids are raised. She's super excited. We've been friends for years. She's so excited to meet with me. She's made my favorite pot of iced tea, and I'm going to come over and we're going to list her house for sale, and she's excited. But guess what? What is she thinking subconsciously? Where's her nervous system? Is there any anxiety or stress in Marty's body? What's the price of my house? How long is it going to take to sell? What kind of commission rate is my good friend Andrew going to charge me? Am I really making the right decision? Is this really the right time? How am I going to navigate through this? I love this house. It's been my home for 30 years. I've raised my kids here. I'm so emotional. Wow, I just got a calendar invite from my friend Andrew. He really respects this appointment. He really respects this relationship. I feel better. I feel safer. I'm more at peace. I'm more at ease in this, even though I don't know what the price of my home's going to be, even though I don't know what the commission rate's going to be that Andrew's going to charge me, I already feel better. I feel safer. I've been acknowledged.
Amazing, Andrew. Thank you for sharing those insights, that incredible insights. There's 2 questions. So we have Palm Beach. Louise Weiss has a question, followed by Mark Benson, both top producers. He's in Naples. Go ahead, Louise.
Hey, Andrew, thank you for sharing this life-changing information. I'm curious, what does the itinerary of your morning call look like?
So my morning call, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. And then, I have a co-host, my partner, Anthony Rollins. So he took over at 8 o'clock so I could jump over here this morning, but 7:30 to 8:30. And we get on and we do, it's just best practices of real estate. Best practices of spiritual hygiene. It's the practice that I need every day to move into domino number 2, right? It's really domino number 1. And then domino number 2 is lead generation. We get off the call, we lead generate. That's it. So it's preparing ourselves for lead generation by putting us in the right frame of mind. It's our pre-game warm-up, right? It's like going to the field early and getting in your stretching and throwing and tossing. And, it's kind of, if you think about like any athlete, every athlete has a pre-game warm-up. Every athlete, nobody takes the field cold. Nobody, because that's where injury happens. That's where you're not performing at your best, right? So how do we take the field ready to play all out at our highest level, focused, completely focused? So that hour is it's my pre-game workout, and I get to co-regulate with other people that are also looking for that pre-game workout, right? And Mark Benson's been coming on the calls for a couple of years, and it's such a treat. So, there's, yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Mark? Sorry, Mark had a question for you, Andrew.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I just wanted to ask you again, how much do you charge for these calls?
Yeah, thanks. Free, right? Free every day.
It's like
Friday.
People would pay $100, $200 a month to be able to have access to this kind of leadership and this kind of mind meld, if you will, mind mapping. And, you know, if you're with another company and they don't offer something like this, if you're in a market center that doesn't have one at a convenient time, you know, put your toe in the water and give it a try. You have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain. And I highly recommend that you at least join in the call. If you can't make it every day, that's fine. But they've always welcomed me with the gracious open arms.
Thanks, Mark, so much. It really means a lot. It really means a lot. I love seeing you on those calls in the morning. And yeah, it's Monday through Friday. It's 5 days a week of this. I mean, if you could tolerate me, you know, for 5 days a week or 1 day a week or once a month, it's all cool. It's good. You know, these are it's a practice. It's a practice. And, you know, it's like this call is about luxury, and self-love is the greatest luxury that you can give to yourself. And I mean that so wholeheartedly. Like, there's money can't buy it. It's priceless, right? And when you really learn to love yourself fully, you can go out and do there. You just are you're completely unstoppable.
Nice.
Well,
and-
if you can
and
make
then-
me as calm and polished as Mark Benson, then it seems like I should be joining the call.
I tell you-
Mark
I tell you-
always seems so zen.
Somebody had asked about-
It could be the morning call.
I think it's all of that, but somebody had asked about ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese term. And it's your reason for getting up in the morning. It's your vocation. Let's talk about that for 1 second. I know it's 9:03 or 12:03 on your guys. The ikigai has 4 pillars. The first pillar is that you love what you do, that you're really super passionate about it. The second pillar is that you're mastering it, that you're good at what you do, that you've mastered your craft. So number 1, you love it. Number 2, you master it. And number 3, that it benefits other people, that what you do benefits others. And the fourth pillar is that there's fair exchange, that you're rewarded or compensated for the work that you do. So it's based on 4 pillars. It's called the Ikigai, and I'm kind of a part of this Ikigai tribe. It's my thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Anyone?
Yes.
I think that's it, right? There's so much
Sure.
content
Yes,
to
yes.
watch over and over in that recording on Facebook.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Andrew, for joining our call. This call is being recorded and it'll be available on our Facebook group page and on our YouTube channel, which you guys take a minute if you haven't already. The links are in chat. And if you're on the email list, you'll get an email directing you there also. And then, you know, don't forget our calls take place every first Wednesday. So October 4th is our next call. Anybody have any departing thoughts? Jason, Anjali, Andrew?
No.
Well, we have someone really special coming up on our next call. Watch for some communication coming out from us, and hopefully
She's
see
a
all
tease.
of you there. Oh, absolutely. Gotta keep them coming back. See
Thank
you
you
all
again.
next month.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
And
Bye,
you.
thank
everybody.
you so much, Andrew. You were
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.